What's good, everyone? My name is Owen, and welcome back to another episode of First Round Buy. On today's episode, we're going to be talking 5 wide receivers that could break out and be a wide receiver one for the first time in their career. On average, I would say about 4 to 5 new wide receiver ones come about each year. I think 2022 had 5. 2023 had 3, 2024, I believe, had 7, and 2025 had 5. So on average, I would say about 5. So what we are looking for is who we think can have a chance to be one of those 5 first-time wide receiver ones. What are we looking for when we're looking for a possible first-time wide receiver one? I'm looking for target share. I'm looking for opportunities. I'm looking for what has happened, team structure, who has left the team, what role will they be playing, things like that. So, done plenty of research on this. And I think today I'm going to give you 5 good guesses at players, wide receivers that could be a wide receiver one for the first time in their career. So, everybody, all my viewers and fantasy football degenerates, let's lock in and talk some fantasy football. The first wide receiver we are going to have on this list just barely missed the top 12 ranking last season, and it is going to be T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan from the Carolina Panthers. Last year, as a rookie, he had just over 1,000 yards, had a breakout season, and there could be a lot of upside with this guy. He was 10th in target share in the league with 25.4%, second in league air yards, just behind JSN. So the big play potential is there. The target share is there. That's what we need. We've been hearing some reports in the offseason that he is going to be playing less X. Last year, he was basically an X receiver, stuck on the outside most of the time. He is not the best at press man coverage. I would say he is average. So him being able to move around, being that Z, that big power slot, it's going to give him some better opportunities, free releases off the line. He's not going to be playing on ball as much, which could be really good news for Tet and as far as his potential to break out as a wide receiver one this season. He was 18th in red zone targets. We're hoping to see that come up some. He is a big-bodied receiver, so we can see those red zone targets increase. I do think the Carolina Panthers do like to run the ball when they get in the red zone, but with recent reports, Chuba Hubbard going through an injury, that could switch up, and they could be looking to pass more in the red zone. With him moving around, it's really going to add to him. Those free releases are going to get him, quick passes and things like that. And Tet, I think, can eat in this offense. I really think as far as the receivers, this offense is going to funnel through 2 players. It is going to be Jalen Coker and Tet McMillan. They did just sign Darren Waller, who could be a threat to his end zone targets because he is a red zone threat. We've seen it last year with the Miami Dolphins. So that could kind of be a negative towards Tet, but I'm not really worried about that. It is going to take some time for Darren Waller to get integrated into this offense. They do have capable other tight ends. Darren Waller is not going to be a blocker. He's going to be a glorified receiver. So honestly, I don't see him getting on the field as much and will probably be more of a package-based tight end, and I don't think it's going to affect Tet very much. He was in the slot last year just under 20%. If we could even get that to around 35%, maybe that is going to be great news for Tet. And honestly, he was like 18th. He ran out of the slot at the 18th lowest rate in the league. If we can just get him to the middle, or somewhere near the middle of the league, and that was out of 76 qualified receivers with 50 targets. If you could just get him into the middle, Tet is going to eat, and he's going to be an easy candidate to be a wide receiver one for the first time in his career. The next wide receiver coming up on this list that I think has already shown that he is a wide receiver one, but just cannot stay healthy and cannot stay out of trouble. And I'm guessing you know who I'm about to say, and it's Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice is already produced as a wide receiver one anytime he's on the field. I think he's Patrick Mahomes' favorite target as Travis Kelce continues to regress in this offense. Patrick Mahomes leans on Rashee Rice even more. And this was for wide receivers with a minimum of 50 targets. He was 12th in target share with almost 29%, fifth in fantasy points per game at 18.8 points per game, and third in targets per route run. He was also 10th in red zone targets. He's a big red zone factor for Patrick Mahomes. He's always looking for Patrick Mahomes, always looking for Rashee Rice in the red zone. It could regress slightly. You know, you may hear out there people talking about what's going to happen because of Kenneth Walker coming there and it's going to take away from Rashee Rice. I don't believe that. Here's the thing. Kenneth Walker was brought in to be the running back and to give him a change of pace at running back that they just haven't had 4 years since prime Kareem Hunt. It'll take a little bit of pressure off of Patrick Mahomes for him having to scramble or run so much, but I don't think the passing game is going to change much. They don't have much in the passing game. Xavier Worthy is already hurt once again, hurt his shoulder again in training camp. He's tiny. He weighs like $170 with 2 bricks in his pocket, soaking wet. That guy, honestly, I don't see him staying healthy. And if he is, I don't think he's going to be a huge factor in what Rashee Rice does. Rashee Rice, lives around that line of scrimmage, quick separation, quick slant, screens, things like that. Xavier Worthy is living downfield. He's not really doing much of that, so it is not going to affect Rashee Rice. We've already seen Rashee Rice produce at a high level. What's the problem? Dude can't stay on the field, and dude can't keep his bonehead self from just getting in trouble. Who knows if they're going to sign him to another contract? We don't know, but maybe they don't. And they're, the Chiefs thinking is we're just going to ride this guy into the ground, and who cares? We're not bringing him back anyways, because the guy is about as dumb as a bag of rocks when it comes to staying out of trouble when he could be looking at $30+ million a year, and the dude still can't stay out of trouble. So honestly, this is a really good bet. All the dude has to do is be able to play, I would say, 15 out of 17 games, and I think he is a lock for his first wide receiver one season. The next wide receiver we have up is Emeka Egbuka of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And between me and you, I think this is the guy with the highest upside. We already seen him ball out last year as a rookie. And yes, it was without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but it at least showed his potential. Now, Mike Evans is gone. He's gone to the 49ers, and Chris Godwin is back. But let's be honest. As far as I'm concerned, Chris Godwin is a shell of himself. I believe he's 31. He just, a devastating ankle injury 2 years ago, where before his ankle injury, he was wide receiver 2, just behind Jamar Chase. But we seen him come back last year, and he wasn't quite himself. He could have improved some, but I really do think with the fact that they let Mike Evans go and they could have signed him for a team-friendly deal. Mike Evans did say in the beginning that he wanted to be a Buck, and they still let him go. The thing that tells me is they want Egbuka to be their wide receiver one. They brought Chris Godwin back. I think they bring him, he was on a 3-year deal already. He's a veteran presence. He could be a great guy in the locker room to teach these younger guys the ropes and kind of like pass the torch. But if I had to guess, Emeka Egbuka is their wide receiver one. I know if he can move around the defense, the offense more, be in that Z role, but you are going to have Chris Godwin be in that slot role quite a bit. I do think that it will be close to a 50-50 going in and out of that slot role. I do see Jalen McMillan playing a lot of X. They do have Ted Hurst now who will play a lot of X. So I think that's going to help Emeka Egbuka a lot, who did play X last year, but was great out of the slot. So let's get into some of these, metrics that could show us that Emeka Egbuka is going to be a wide receiver one next year. Through the first 5 games of the season in 2024, he was wide receiver 3, I believe. He was he was wide receiver 3. He had 20.5 points per game, and he was 4th in the league with 445 receiving yards. He was 2nd in receiving touchdowns through 5 games with 5. He was 13th in target share with a 27% target share and an 85% snap rate. So he was always on the field. Then he got hurt and he just fell off a cliff. But let's think about this, guys. What if he started off slow and then he ended the season like this? This guy would be all the craze right now. Everybody would be predicting him or ranking him as a wide receiver one already, just on how he ended the year and how he showed that he could be an alpha wide receiver. He was 9th in air yard share in the league. Very explosive. He was 6th in catches of 20 plus yards downfield, despite being hurt for most of the year. He was 12th in yards after catch per reception with 5.2 yards. That's a minimum of 50 targets. And he's a better wide receiver versus zone, which is the majority of NFL defenses. You know, NFL defenses are going towards these shell coverages, zone coverages, too high safeties, things like that. So being able to get open in a zone coverage defense is so important in today's league. They don't run a lot of man coverage, so a receiver that can really just destroy zone coverages is always going to eat and be a good bet to be a good wide receiver. The Bucs have the 6th easiest schedule for wide receivers, which is another reason I'm banking on him to finish as a wide receiver one this year. They got a great schedule going forward, and especially in the playoffs, like he could be someone that could be a league winner for you in the playoffs with how easy their schedule is. The next on this list, and just for a heads up, this list is not going in order of who I think I have the most confidence in. It is just the 5 wide receivers I think have the potential. And this is kind of going against the grain here because the whole craze of this offense, the Bears offense, is Luther Burden and Colston Loveland. But I think it could be Rome Odunze, the one who gets to be the wide receiver one in this offense. Through the first 8 weeks last year, he had a 33% target share, and it was good for 3rd in the league. He was the wide receiver 5, I believe, through the first 5 weeks of the season. He was 14th in points per game with 15.5 through the first 8 games of the season. He had a 92% snap share, which was good enough for 6th in the league. He's the X receiver there. We know he's going to be on the field. And I'm not trying to hear all this stuff about Luther Burden. Do I think Luther Burden is good? Yes. Could he be an honorable mention for this video? Yes. I think he could be. You've heard Ben Johnson talk about him. Maybe he does have the role of the Amon-Ra in this new Bears offense. And you hear all the hoopla, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada about Ben Johnson didn't draft Rome Odunze. He drafted Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. Fine. Whatever. Last year, at the beginning of the year, it was a Rome Odunze show. This whole offense was running through the running backs, DeAndre Swift and Rome Odunze. Those were the 2 that were the focal points of the offense. And Rome was balling out with that role. I do think it can change a little bit this year, but honestly, we don't know. We could come out, Luther Burden's dealing with this injury now. Maybe he gets a little slow start to the season and Rome just starts off so good, builds that rapport with Caleb Williams. We've seen it in camp as well. And maybe he just takes off with this wide receiver one role. I do see Caleb Williams as being the first ever 4,000-yard passer in Chicago Bears history. He barely missed it last year. I think he's going to take a step forward in this Ben Johnson offense. And Ben Johnson is one of the best, if not the best, offensive coordinators in the league. He did it for the Lions, and now he's doing it for the Bears. Last but certainly not least, I'm going to go with Christian Watson of the Green Bay Packers. He's 27 years old. We've seen 27 be like just elite year for wide receivers. It's when they're really coming into their prime. We've all had high hopes for Christian Watson for ever since the year after his rookie year, when I would say he kind of broke out the second half of his rookie year. And we've been betting on this guy for years. He's been dealing with injuries. He's had the injury bug for so many years now, and went to a specialist, had it checked out, and that seems to be in the past. Last year, when he came back from the ACL, no one expected him to come back that early. And when he came back, he was explosive. He just signed a big contract. It was 4 years, $110 million. And let's just follow the clues here, people. Let's follow the money. What are the Green Bay Packers telling us? They want him to be a focal point of the offense, if not the wide receiver one. One big thing that was in this offseason that I took as a huge step forward and a plus for Christian Watson. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it was an interview with Jordan Love on during training camps where they were interviewing him, and he said personally that Matthew Golden was locked in at the X, which tells me Christian Watson is going to be the Z receiver in this offense. We just seen in the preseason game, they did run a lot of 11 personnel, and when they're running 11 personnel, it is going to be Matthew Golden, Christian Watson, and Jaden Reed. But when they are in any heavy personnel or two wide receiver sets, it is going to be Christian Watson and Matthew Golden, which is great. I mean, get this guy, just like I said about Tet, get this guy off the line, get him in as a power slot, get him moving around that offense. It's just going to open him up more for more looks and easier releases and just getting open quicker. He was 5th in the league in yards per route run with 2.51 yards per route run, minimum of 50 targets. That's been my baseline for finding all this stuff out. I want to know receivers that are actually on the field and what are their yards per route run, or any of the stats I'm looking for. I want to know receivers that are, getting targets and are getting a minimum of 50 targets. Those are the receivers we care about anyways. 2.51, 5th in the league. That is an elite yards per route run. He was 2nd in ADOT, average depth of target with 18 yards. So he is a big play threat. I do think that comes down a little bit this year with Matthew Golden being locked in at the X. Maybe they switch roles. They're still going to use him downfield on these big explosive plays. That's just the player he is. But honestly, if we can get him working across the middle a little more, get him a little lower ADOT, I think it's going to help him a lot as far as just getting more targets, more catches, more yards. He was 11th in fantasy points over expected per game. And he also has a very favorable schedule throughout the year and in the playoffs. The Green Bay Packers have the 8th easiest schedule for wide receivers this year. So honestly, that's going to benefit him. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that he has all of his injuries taken care of. And if this guy can play 17 games, especially with the new role he is playing in this offense, top 12 upside is possible. The only downside is, one, he could get hurt, or two, maybe this team, goes very run heavy, plays slow, and they don't throw the ball as much as we're going to think. But I just don't think that's going to be a case this year. And that's why I'm grabbing him in the 5th round of most of my drafts, or even the 6th round in most of my drafts, because I do think this is going to be a consolidated pass attack. That's why they got rid of Romeo Doubs. They got rid of Wicks. And I really do think like this team now is going to funnel through 3 wide receivers. Tucker Kraft, I think, is going to be a league winner as far as tight ends. But I do think this is going to be, for the first time ever that we've seen in the last few years, since Davante Adams left this team, this is going to be a consolidated passing attack, and it's going to benefit Christian Watson a ton. All right, everyone, that's all I got for today's video. I hope you like my list, and that is my 5 wide receivers that I think have the chance to finish as a wide receiver 1 for the first time in their careers. Thank you guys for watching the video. We finally have football. Fuck yes. Come on, let's go. Let's lock in. It's just the preseason, but the preseason can tell us a lot, tell us what's happening, tell us what first offenses are trying to do, who are the prospects we're looking at in the future, and things like that. So let's be pumped on some football. I thank you guys for stopping by. Like, subscribe, comment below who your wide receiver one breakouts are and who you think could finish as a wide receiver one for the first time this year. I appreciate you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one.